Yeah, welcome back. I know it's been a while. I was having to think about a few things because I wasn't sure of my content. Obviously, it takes a while to build these things up, but I'd recently things that happened in my life, and I didn't really want to have inflammatory videos on YouTube that might basically cause me a headache. But I think I've come to the point where I'd like to start doing these again. And I was thinking of what I could put down just as a little I'm back, and and before I get onto any of these topics that I've been talking about. And I've noticed there's a lot of stink being kicked up in America, I believe, about it's always in America, isn't it? About abortions. Now, I've never had kids, and I'm not a woman. You may have noticed that. Yeah. Don't ask us for the definition, but I'm not a woman. But I do. I was. I try and obviously try and think of something that harkens me back to what it is like in those situations when you suddenly find out you might have a child that you might not want or might cause you harm. And I do remember it will be several years ago now, like at least 3 or 4, and I did. I was doing the Bachelor's game on the internet. I'm sure you can guess what that was. Where me and a lady started speaking. I was on holiday from work, and suffice to say, me and her got together for what was agreed to be a rather physical encounter, all above board and stuff. But I walked in fully equipped. We'll see. The long story is, I went over. I was on a promise, and I had condoms in my pocket, and she refused flat to use the condoms. And me being an idiot, thought that meant she was on the pill, or thought she had some other contraceptive on the go. And you know, a couple of days later, I text back, oh, I had a good time, and she's, oh yes, I had a good time. You're nice blood, all this shit. And then she says, and if I fall pregnant, don't worry, I won't come chasing you. And I nearly fell off my chair. I mean, what do you mean if you nearly fall pregnant? Are you not on something? And she goes, oh no, I got my dates mixed up. Me injection had ran out, and I nearly shit my heart out. It was I didn't actually. This is how little experience I have with this area, is that I didn't actually realize how low the percentage of successful. I forgot what you call it actually when you actually make somebody pregnant and conceiving somebody. I didn't actually realize it was only about 1 in 10, and I was in a right flap. And obviously, I went over there to talk to her, and the first thing words out of her mouth were, "I'm not having an abortion." And I went, "Wait, I mentioned no abortion." And I think she was probably expecting us just to like take the high road. And I certainly didn't have any long term designs on her, and nor her me. But for a minute, I knew I couldn't. I knew I couldn't morally walk away from it, and I was prepared to like make some contribution if there had been a kid. Obviously, there wasn't a kid because I'm sitting here still single. You can't hear a baby wailing in the background, but yeah, I did for a minute. I did realize what it was like to possibly have a kid knocking around somewhere that you. I won't say that you did. I didn't want, but planned and prepared for in no way, which would because I'm a bachelor, and it's not something I would want to. I don't think I'd be very good at it, especially if I'm not living with the person, or I would possibly. I can see the problems even now. I don't think I would have much say in the kid's life. There would be a money or issue. There would be issues with on her side where I don't really feel is fair to put on YouTube. Um, the general suffice to say, our exes weren't the nicest of people. Because as you can see, she hasn't got particularly good taste in men, has she? But yeah, and this is not in any way, shape, or form to like. approaching the level of what would happen if a woman fell pregnant. And but even then, I was I was I was useless for fright. Now, and that was without sort of that was just with the financial obligation and the sense of responsibility. And obviously, I was terrified to tell my mother. Now, the I don't think it's appropriate for me to put into words what I think other people go through. I know there's a lot of selfish people out there of both sexes, and I know there's a lot of stupid, oh, it'll never happen to me people out there of both sexes. Now, of course, the major difference is that if a man don't like it and he is suitably immoral, he can just run for the hills. He can not call back. He can suddenly remember that somebody offered him a job at the other side of the country. I know a lot of people who don't know their fathers. A lot. Well, I know some. Less so do I know people who don't know their mothers, because at the end of the day, it's not like you can. It's not like you can, just not be pregnant. And a lot of people do have strong reservations about this, which is probably possibly a throwback to Catholic times, and other things. I'm not a scientist. I always, apart from this one time, go to great pains not to be in that position. I always wear condoms. Basically, if I was on a promise, and I have been known to be somewhat promiscuous in me days, I have always put my wellies on before I went plodging, as the old saying goes. And this one time, obviously, I made a silly mistake. So I mean, my obviously but then you get idiots who say, oh well, it's not as nice when you use a condom, and you're just like, okay. And there is a lot of steps you can take before it gets to the point where you just like saying, right, in we go, honey, now it's the matter. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know if this. I don't know if I could say maybe look into just wearing a fucking blob, just in case. Then I think the major thing though that I wanted to come on, because obviously I've got absolutely no say what people do behind closed doors. It's to like address the bigger picture that one must look to, in as much that as with a lot of, shall we say, rather public and rather political debates, it's become quite catty. It's become quite name-cally. One side saying that all the other side wants is some display of power, or some form of power over a woman's body. I mean, I would like to say no to that, because it's completely unfathomable to me why anybody would feel that this gives them any sort of, power or anything. I personally don't know what being able to pass a law would do that, but I've noticed over the years that not everybody thinks like me, which is probably a good thing. And the other side saying you're just a bunch of murderers. And when you step back from it and you abstract from both ideas, neither of those sound particularly unreasonable until you start countering one with the other. Well, you're just a fucking murderer who's going to murder your child. Well, you just want to control my body, and you just, rather than answering, the question, like if you say, oh, you just want to murder your child for your convenience, and they would turn, well, no, I'm only a week on. It was a morning after pill. It's really not a thing. An answer like that, it's that I feel should be the first step in this, because it's just become political ammo at the minute, and abortion, no matter what you call it, or a bairn's life, no matter what you call it, is certainly worth more than a bit of political wrangling. It's much bigger than that, and people are just using it to have a bit of a fucking argument and feel indignant. And I mean, I know a lot of people are getting onto this, and I know a lot of them never have planned to have kids, and yet they're there because, and I honestly just feel it's because they like to shake in righteous rage. And I address both sides of this. I'm not saying it's anyone in particular. It really won't get any better until people stop sniping each other and try and lay down a bit of science. Because I mentioned something on a Facebook page the other day, and somebody came back and said the science is that as soon as you conceive a child, that's the word I was looking for, conceive a child, then it's alive. So after that, if you do anything, you're murdering it. And I'm like, and I thought to myself, well, hang on a minute. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine just a week or so ago, and he was being similarly abrupt, which annoyed us, to be honest. And he had a completely different idea of what the science was. I believe he said that's something that science says is just a mass of cells until X weeks down into the pregnancy. And I think that is one thing you've got to look at, is that I think all the people who say that abortion is a moral right, they're not saying like 8 months in. They're not saying it when there was actually a bairn in there and it's just a bit early. They're talking catching it early enough. I mean, I say catch it early enough, catch it in a fucking condom and throw it in the bin. That's what I say. But again, I don't want to oversimplify this, and I don't want to make one that I've got anywhere approaching all the right answers. But anyway, welcome back to the show. I'll try and start posting these. I'm a bit busy. I've just actually started in the past few months teaching my own capoeira lessons, so I'm having to spend a lot of time publishing and publicising and advertising that, and training. I've been training like a bastard lately. And yeah, and I have also begun dating somebody, which of course takes up some of that time. Not a great deal, because it's a bit of a long distance thing, but yes. And of course, I don't want to make a video that's suddenly going to get us into hot water with me new, like, not so new and last now, because what would be the point in that? Ugh. Right, I've got to go. I'm training the night. I'll see you all later.